My father sold me to his business partner to erase his debts. I refused, so he had me committed, claiming I was delusional. 2 years later, he knocked on my door sobbing. Vincent Hartley never saw me as a daughter. I was an asset, something to be leveraged when times got tough. When his construction company started drowning 3 years ago, he found what he thought was the perfect solution. He would marry me off to his business partner, a 54-year-old man named Harold Briggs, who had already buried 2 wives under suspicious circumstances. The first wife fell down the stairs. The second had a fatal allergic reaction to medication she had been taking safely for years. Harold was never charged, but everyone in our small town whispered about him. Everyone except my father, who saw only dollar signs. I was 23 when my father sat me down and explained the arrangement like he was discussing a merger. Harold would forgive the $800,000 my father owed him. In exchange, I would become Mrs. Briggs within 6 months. When I refused, my father's face twisted into something I barely recognized. He called me ungrateful, selfish, a burden he had carried for too long. When I threatened to tell our family what he was doing, he made a phone call that changed everything. 2 days later, I was sitting in a psychiatric facility. My father had convinced a judge I was experiencing a mental breakdown. He produced fake text messages, fabricated witness statements from his employees, even a forged letter supposedly from my college therapist. He told everyone I had become paranoid and delusional, that I was inventing stories about him and poor Harold Briggs. I spent 11 days in that facility before my grandmother intervened. She never believed her own son's story for a second. She hired a lawyer named Mrs. Patterson, this fierce woman in her 60s who specialized in cases of family exploitation. The facility conducted their own internal review and found inconsistencies in my father's paperwork. The signatures on those witness statements didn't match. The therapist he cited had retired 4 years earlier and had no memory of writing any letter. Within a week, I was released. The facility flagged my case for potential fraud. My father suddenly found himself answering uncomfortable questions from investigators who didn't appreciate being used to imprison someone's daughter. What destroyed him wasn't some dramatic confrontation. It was paperwork, his own sloppiness. The investigators pulled his financial records during their inquiry and discovered years of tax fraud, falsified contracts, and embezzlement from his own company. Harold Briggs, suddenly nervous about his own exposure, refused to cover for him. He fled to Central America before anyone could ask him questions about his deceased wives. My father lost his contractor's license. His company collapsed. His country club membership vanished along with all those friends who used to laugh at his jokes over expensive whiskey. For 2 years, I rebuilt my life in a city 300 miles away. My grandmother helped me finish my accounting degree. I got a job at a firm that valued my attention to detail. I adopted a cat named Oliver and learned how to make her famous pie recipes during our Sunday phone calls. Then last Monday happened. My father stood in my hallway looking 20 years older than I remembered. His expensive watch was gone. His designer clothes had been replaced by a wrinkled polo shirt. He clutched a cardboard box against his chest. "I brought your baby pictures," he said, voice cracking. I thought maybe we could look through them together. Talk about the good times. I invited him inside. I made him coffee. I let him spread those photographs across my kitchen table while he rambled about how much he missed me, how sorry he was, how everything had been a misunderstanding. Then I asked him why he was really here. The performance crumbled instantly. His face hardened into the expression I remembered so well. "Your grandmother passed last month," he said flatly. "She left everything to you. The house, her savings, all of it. My lawyer says I can contest it, but it would be easier if you just signed papers agreeing to split things fairly. 50-50. That's more than reasonable." I sipped my coffee and let him wait. What my father didn't know was that my grandmother had called me 3 days before she passed. She told me exactly what she had done. She had removed him from her will entirely 10 years ago, right after my grandfather died, and she saw how Vincent handled the estate. She had also set up a trust in my name that he could never touch, no matter how many lawyers he hired. She knew her son. She had always known. I told my father to leave. I told him the inheritance was exactly where grandmother intended it to be. I told him that contesting the will would only drain whatever money he had left, because her lawyer had spent a decade making it bulletproof. He called me an ungrateful child on his way out the door. As I watched him drive away in a car that clearly belonged to someone else now, I felt something unexpected. Peace. Just peace.